All right, welcome to the KCP community call. It's been a while since I've done that. And the meeting is now much bigger than it used to be, so welcome everyone. This meeting is, as it has been for the past few years, governed by the CNCF Code of Conduct, which boils down to let's be excellent to each other. So please keep that in mind. And with that, let me quickly take a look at the people here. Just to follow the agenda, which I will also bring on screen in just a second, is there anyone here who would like to introduce themselves as a new meeting or returning meeting attendee? I guess I fall into that category, but I think I hopefully still know most people here. So any new meeting attendees who want to introduce themselves and say hi?
So I'm new here. I got invited by Lubomir because we were currently creating an MCP server, and we learned that Carol was also creating an MCP server, KCP, and we want to see how we can align that.
All right, welcome, Max. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? All right, cool. Then why don't we get into the agenda? So I think we have quite a few topics. And the first one on the agenda is Lubomir, MCP Virtual Workspaces. Please take it away.
Thank you. So as Max said, we had a discussion downstream with Carol, who is also working on the virtual workspace, which is MCP one. Downstream, we created some sort of a minimal MCP server that is quite KCP aware. So we were wondering that whether we should at least try to upstream the tools that will going to be shared between the virtual workspace in any MCP server implementer, or is that not worth it because the surface overlap is, in the end of the day, maybe not so much. To provide some additional context, our MCP server also implemented a dynamic client approach, which allows it to really get anything because you have the permissions. MJ, go ahead.
I'm just wondering in what shape your server is like, because the one Carol did is like a virtual workspace type, which kind of conforms to the KCP style. Like, I would love to have some convergence between basically those two components and move it from Contrib to some kind of semi-supported version. The question is, what we have now, is it working for you, or can we basically merge this effort somehow?
We have some customer pressure to try to deploy it as fast as possible. So we are probably going to go with the MCP server in the initial iteration. But slightly in the longer perspective, I was wondering whether we can expose some shared backend. And yes, in the future, we might also resort to the access slash MCP server approach, which is a virtual workspace as well. But for now, we are under pressure to use this our MCP server, custom one. And Max, maybe you can also share more about what tools we have already.
Yeah, so at first it works a little bit differently. So it's our MCP server gets like all of our tools will get like workspace path to work on. So it's not a virtual workspace in the background or something like that. And then act on behalf as a user by a path authentication token. So that's a little bit different. But other than that, as Lubomir already said, we have like generic Kubernetes resources we can read, create, and update. Other than that, KCP specific ones, I think we only have like getting a list of workspaces and get workspace information. And then we have a couple of like I think 2 or 3 product-related tools on top of that. So we don't have much in there yet, except that we can like basically create or modify every Kubernetes resource and the workspace tools.
You mentioned it's like a workspace, not a virtual workspace currently.
Yes, when you call a tool, you need to pass in a workspace, which your agent would do, and the MCP server would only act on that workspace. And
yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I just added the draft MCP tools, but I think I need to probably refactor all of them. The POC, I tried to do like some generic ones and also like specific get and list that will be like called directly. So now I'm investigating what this SDK allows us to do. I would like to do like some upstream. There is a Kubernetes MCP server, but they are doing their own. Basically, they are not based on this SDK. But I will probably do similar interface. That means that I would love to have anyone option to add their own tools, and those would be like exportable, meaning that we can also cooperate on that one and create or change whatever is needed. And if you mentioned like the listing workspaces would be like a good start, but I'm still thinking about doing this generic and thinking about some specific operation we would like to do. And first, I would like to do. I would like to structure it in a proper way. So the toolset based on the groups of APIs, and then we could also add some guardrails. So some of the objects are, for example, admin. So there is a lot of things to do actually from this contrib perspective.
So I think it's more like if you find what we're doing useful and you can reuse it, like we are more than welcome to change code, move it right, left, if it means more companies can use that. As I pasted the links now in the doc, this is a bit wider effort to make virtual workspaces cool, basically. So there is a operator now supports deploying virtual workspaces, even self-bootstrapping virtual workspaces, and we already have 3 of them in a contrib repos, like one for ephemeral resources, one for access, and one for MCP, and potentially more coming. It's a bit poorly documented because we just keep building this, and once this is why it's contrib repos, not like under main. But once we settle down on one pattern, we're gonna, I think, document it and push it through the docs. So feedback is very much welcome too. So I think the question is like, how can we help you to come to work together?
Something that I also asked Carol on Slack, that my immediate reaction was, can we just import the MCP virtual workspace and build our product stuff on top of it, which is also an option for us eventually, would be let's add more tools that are product specific. That also works eventually. The other idea was, can we just expose a generic set of KCP aware tools for a repo somewhere? I don't know. It's fine for me either way, as long as we don't have to duplicate too much.
Yeah.
But also, like I said, it's not a huge overlapped surface, I would say.
I think both works. If you see something which can be reused and code doesn't work, just raise an issue, raise a PR, and we can just deal with that.
Yeah. As long as you are using the same SDK, would be fine-ish.
What about these contrib repositories? Do they eventually graduate to non-prefix country?
I think if there is a use for them and people using them, we can think about that. But for now, Contrib gives us this more freedom, like iterate faster, explore faster, and if it dies in exploration phase, it dies in exploration phase. If not, we're not. Like, it's a best effort support at this point.
I
But
see.
we know people who wants access and who wants MCP already, and even ephemeral resources. So I see potentially them moving into maybe this, again, community wider agreement, maybe even the stagings and we sync it out, or maybe some one big shared repo. But it all depends on adoption. Like, we don't want to maintain that code.
I see. For now, like I said, we have the pressure. We probably, because it's literally for next week, whatever, we need to use this MCP server that we have already. But long term, we are going to for sure explore what is there. Maybe also contribute. And Max, do you want to share an opinion? Maybe we can switch eventually completely to this MCP virtual workspace.
Yes, sure. I mean, we will still have some like product related tools, but if the KCP MCP server is like sufficient and has all the needed things, like right now we don't use much of them, but it would be totally fine to use that. Yes.
Yeah, one problem that I'm not sure how we're going to solve is adding tools, because this they are hardcoded in Go. Does that mean like a separate binary image is going to run somewhere so that you can bring your own tools? It's kind of tricky. We talked with Carol briefly about this. Maybe just build your own workspace, watch your workspace on top of the one with your own tools. No idea.
I mean, I had a very quick look at this because I'm not super in topic, but this sounds like the way to go. Currently, the MCP virtual workspace isn't really built for reuse, which I guess makes sense. Like, it's just a prototype to like get it running. But like, if we refactor it a bit and make it more like of an SDK, and then the binary in the repo is the default one that KCP serves, and then if, like the KCP supports, and if anyone wants to build their own custom binaries with more tools like hooked into it, I think that's just a matter of code refactoring.
All right. This is the link for the containers Kubernetes MCP server. Like, if you can check that one, that is structure-wise, it's a bit different, but it's basically importable and reusable. So if something structure-wise like this works, we can borrow the ideas from that one.
I have a quick question there. So this one has a KCP support already, the upstream Kubernetes MCP server? I know the upstream, but like from the containers.
Yeah.
Oh,
I added it like half
nice.
year ago.
I see.
Yeah, it's aware of the workspaces, so we can list them.
I think we can move to the next topic, unless anybody else has more comments on this one. Yeah, so this is the survey. A couple of weeks ago, I proposed that we can create a survey for KCP. For my mistake, there was no prior survey before, and I started drafting some questions. Daniel and Nilo only provided feedback as far as I know. So this is what I have. I wanted to go quickly over the questions and say, hey, this is a completely no-go. Let's remove something. I wanted to, if possible, formalize it today so that I can start working on the Google Forms. About sending it, whatever the maintainers are happy with the contents, we can send it. I guess maybe KCPCon is a good starting point, or maybe earlier. But yeah, have you had a chance to view, comment, any have additional questions that can be added, etc.?
I do have one comment, but the email question, I do think that should be optional. I would assume that it lowers the barrier to entry if someone can submit this like anonymously, more or less. Like, I mean, I assume that no one is gonna bother to fill out a KCP server if they don't really use KCP. And I think that's the nature of the beast, right? Sometimes you wish you could reach out to clarify something, but you can't, but better than the person not participating at all. Marco.
I would agree with Marvin about that. Definitely no email required. I'll leave it optional, and eventually at the end, if you want to be reached out, please leave your email, and that's it. So that's about that. Some more comments that I'm seeing right now. One thing we kind of talked about this last time, and this is that how do we want to do that? If we want to ask CNCF for some support, I would check with them if they have strong opinions about the survey tool, because I know they have been using SurveyMonkey, if I'm not mistaken, that's how the service is called, a lot. So if they would have some opinions regarding the tool that is being used, if they want to promote it and stuff like that. And that's another thing that I was thinking about. And the third thing is you have some information about how many KCP instances you have, number of workspaces, shards, so that this is all very good. But we have to clarify, because you can choose, you have a multiple choose about where are you running KCP. If someone selects what production and experimental, for example, or some random project, like you want to be sure for what are they providing values. Are those values for some production setup, or are those some values in your home basement or something like that? There's a big difference. So I would like if we can somehow clarify that, so that people can say, okay, don't ask them multiple times, but like if you select production, then provide production values or something like that to leave a note. I don't know how we can do that.
I'm also not sure. Previously, what we did is basically there's a choice of, like, the third question here is production or experimental, and then we created overlaps. So if somebody clicks production, then we see what they run. That's maybe the more important metric for us. But I don't know if it's possible to do a conditional branching here.
I think this is fine, to be honest, Marco, no? Like, this question should cover your concern.
I mean, that's the reason for concern, because if you choose several options and you can't choose all of them, how do we know what are you providing data for?
Do we care? Like, production might meaning different things for different people and different companies. Like, some people, they treat experimental as production. Like, I think for us, signal is more important here than the actual quality of the signal. We can always follow back if we leave email. We can always do follow-up surveys. So keep it simple, stupid, just to gather the data.
I mean, fun thing, yeah.
Like, is more rhetorical question. How many times some of you abandon the survey because they hit question 5 and they ask some like long question? You're like, I'm not bothered, and close the tab.
It happened, yeah.
Smiles shows that it happened. So I want to avoid this. Like, if this means we can need to simplify it, so that, like, let's try to do that. So once we load it to the Google form or whatever tool, we do a dry run. And if we ourselves critically think it's too much, we even cut some things out.
Okay, then we leave it as it is. I'm not getting any other idea how we can clarify that, so it's easier to just leave it.
And the questions, I think, were quite informative. Like, I didn't comment it more because most of the things I wanted to ask are there. So I think it's good.
Yeah, they look quite good. Like, I think this is the kind of information we need to better understand how people are using KCP in reality, right? So if no one is using shards, well, that's something interesting to know. I mean, then, the follow-up question would be, why are you not using shards? But that's then maybe something to reach out to people individually if they leave their email. That's like a little bit too much for maybe a survey.
Something that Neo brought is should we? He added the question, which was how many KCP instances you have. Then we kind of changed a few questions later. Should we ask for average or maximum? And my idea was to ask for average. What is the number of shards per average? Is that okay?
Sounds fine.
I think it's a reasonable thing to ask, to be honest.
How many KCP shards do you have on average? Yeah.
Strictly speaking, you would want to have max, min, average, all of the dimensions, but well, it's a survey, right? So we just gotta ask for something.
It's one of those, if you say I have 5 environments, and now it says environment 1, environment 2, environment 3, at that point you're closing the tab.
I mean, it would be interesting to think about opt-in telemetry for this kind of data, like opt-in, very important, like not something that we do by default. But if someone wants to send us the data, this is easier ways than to do it via a survey. Just a thought.
That would be like a built-in feature where they can just send to us our maintained server what they have.
As an example, yeah. If we want to get into the whole kerfuffle of running such a server and maintaining the data and all, that's a questionable thing, right? But if we really want to really get into, okay, like how big are these instances really that are out there, then telemetry is obviously better than a survey. But to be, I think, that's something that we should think about today, I think. I mean, even Kubernetes doesn't have this. So.
Yeah, I was about to say, no, I think there was a cap eventually, but nobody.
It's a sensitive topic.
Yeah. Something else, I think Daniel added one of. So I was interested to enumerate some features, and those are all by me. Daniel only added workspace mounts. Do you folks see anything else here that we can add in the list?
I think simply we just need to check what feature flags we have.
Workspace authentication?
Oh, right. That's the one. Good one.
Do we want to mention things like webhooks?
So this is webhooks for API resources, right? So next to the API export, or we think about something else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those ones.
So should we be more specific, like validating admission webhook and mutating admission webhook? Because
You can
those
maybe just put it in a bracket, like put any.
I mean, I think I'm not sure we need to get that specific. It's more interesting if people actually like use
Yeah.
this feature at all.
Again, we keep it simple.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay.
I think we actually did some really good formalization. I can start working on this tomorrow. I don't know if I can finish it by the end of tomorrow, but maybe next week. Thank you very much. I will keep you posted in the Slack channel about it. So actually, should I use the Slack channel? I guess I might have to send edit access privately to folks. Should I just go to the owner file and invite people? As long as you have your emails in GitHub.
I mean, if you give one maintainer owner access to the thing, they can just add all the other maintainers, right? We usually have our emails.
All right, I will see who can add. I can add. That's fine. Yeah, today I'm in the agenda. Sorry about that. Just wanted. This is from today, literally. I created a Microsoft Paint diagram. And I was wondering, how do you even achieve HA in KCP? And this is something we discussed with Zeman and Christoph early this year in Hamburg. But basically, I was trying to understand, how do you even achieve HA, which is similar to the Kubernetes HA? Familiar with Kubernetes, you have 3 API server minimum. Everyone is backed by a HCD member. They run on the HCD plane. You have a HCD cluster. People run it differently, overlay on the control plane node or separately in an external HCD cluster, just somewhere in availability zones, whatever, external HCD we call it. So how do you achieve that in KCP? I mean, I know that shards are scalability features, they're not HA.
Yeah, the capacity feature.
Yes, exactly. So I was thinking, like, if you want to develop some sort of product that deploys a shard cluster by default, which let's say 3 shard by default, root shard is one of them. A storage cache server, it has phone proxy, standard components. How do you make this HA? So the way I was thinking about it, you can put a load balancer and create 3 of these, but then you have to see the network of connections to HCD members forming HCD clusters. So it means that shard from one of the shard clusters has to share an HCD with shard from another shard cluster, and you have 3 of these. And you can also split them into separate availability zones, 3 of them. And also I realized, but wait, if front proxy tries to reach to a shard that is down, it has to round robin to another one that is up. So for that to work, you maybe has to put in the base URL, we have to put another load balancer, which is ideally layer 7, so that it can round robin to a healthy shard. But I think this is overall works as long as I'm not missing something. It's complicated, but this achieves HA maybe?
Oh, yeah, MJ, go ahead.
Just AZ in your case is like availability zone cloud, like East2S1, East2S2, right? Within the same region.
Is in the same region. Cross-region HCD kind of falls apart, arguably. It works, but it's delayed synchronization at that point. But yeah, these are AZs. These are the same availability zone within the same region.
I would not build it like you painted it here bluntly, because now in your situation, if AZ1 goes down, you lost its shard. So you lost every tenant basically who lives in that one shard. If I'm reading this right, because you have shard cluster 1, this means the whole availability zone is a single shard, right?
The availability zone has multiple things. It has a HCD members, and also it has an entire shard cluster there.
Right.
Multiple shards. But the point is, the shard clusters are replicas of each other. So if one goes entirely, my idea was etcd will provide the redundancy.
I have a clarifying question here, which maybe also is on NJ's mind. So basically, here the yellow objects, they are like, so this here would be shard 1, this would be shard 2, this would be shard 3, right?
Yes.
So it's like 3 different shards basically hosted on the same.
Oh, okay. So it's a single API server instance of 3 different shards. So if the AZ1, let's say AZ1 now has a controller lease, it runs whole processes and everything, and AZ1 just got disconnected, flooded. Basically, lease jumps to AZ2, so the same 3 shards are still accessible.
Yes, and even
Okay.
if that goes down, you still have one redundant.
But that
shard
jumps
cluster.
to read-only because of etcd.
Yep,
Right.
but it's a mess.
Right. Yeah, but that's I think that's right, as
Mhm.
right as it can get, basically. And if you're running out of capacity, you basically add one more yellow bubble, like shard 4, and spread it across all of the AZ zones again.
Yes, and yet another etcd cluster of 3 members for it.
Yes, basically, yes.
My only main confusion was if front proxy can handle this. I think it handles this with this addition that I created, which is the caveat the base URL has to be yet another load balancer. So for every shard in this replicated topology, you need a load balancer.
So
And it
front proxy is a stupid component. It has a reconciler. It's always active. So if you deploy 3 front proxies in every AZ, they all has the same data. So you can either has a dedicated load balancer for AZ, AWS style, or you can just expose them directly, CNAME at a GLB level, global load balancer, and say round robin this stuff around, basically.
Mhm. So I guess with my diagram here, this LB on top is a GLB in a way.
Right. Just the question is like, do you want to have it, as you mentioned, like L7 and fire it directly to the like 3 virtual machines with front proxies, or you have a load balancer in every AZ, which basically does the health checking, and like some cloud provider has a better reaction time when you have a local per AZ load balancer, which integrates with global load balancer. Some of them, they don't. But in general, it's I said, because it's a simple web server in a way, it should just work.
Makes
Famous
sense.
last words.
Yeah, I think the reality is, I think this architecture makes sense intuitively, but I think because no one has built this yet, like there might be some, knobs that you probably want to add in front proxy to get it working. But I feel like this is something that, the project can very well support. Like it makes sense intuitively.
There is cases who build it like that already.
Okay.
It works. It's just a question like what you put on top and things like that. There might be different behaviors, like a Cloudflare, not Cloudflare. Like, do you have a CDN or you don't have a CDN? Like, do we do TLS re-encryption or you don't? Like this, there is few sharp edges which you might need to sort out. Because like front proxy does the termination and re-encryption, like there is some caveat on your networking setup between like shards and front proxy and load balancer. Like a example is some of the some of the companies likes to do the TLS termination at the LB level. They said like, oh, we're using Cloudflare PAP or whatever that product called, basically where Cloudflare just cuts everything, they expose everything they own certs. This has a caveats because Kubernetes in general doesn't like this. But if it's like plain L4 type of load balancer, it works quite nicely.
I was talking about layer 7 because it's nice. It can just go to the next available clone, like, if I understand correctly.
I think the challenge there is that front proxy is essentially layer 7, right? So
Yeah.
it implements, some of the Kube API awareness or like the KCP awareness of front proxy. So you'll have to be a bit careful there that you're not kind of fighting with front proxy or something. For example, certificate termination, like TLS termination, client sides.
I will probably MTLS the entire set, just my preference. Someone might prefer to maybe isolate these shard clusters within them. Those could be like maybe without TLS, but I don't think that's even possible with the Kube API server anymore, if I'm not mistaken.
So did you check these things? I will paste a link in a chat and in a document. Where is the document?
I have skimmed before over it. Yes.
Right. The main idea is that, I said, it has these different modes of like external certificate management, dual front proxy, edge encryption, which is like what I mentioned, certs, like Cloudflare doing magic. So it's possible to run it in this kind of stuff. And every of those setups in a deployment were done in a multi-AZ, multi-instance setup.
I see.
So yeah.
Okay, just first of all, we are kind of behind on even multi-shard at this point, so we are not even expanding in one of these bubbles. But yeah, I just wanted to, for my own education, wanted to see if this is actually valid, and I think it's kind of is, yeah. But can you provide some additional minimal context, like what are the other people that are doing this already? Are they using KCP operator? How do they deploy this topology?
So I think people we are aware mostly, they're using either Helm or KCP operator, but that thing acts in a single cluster context.
Yep.
Means it's a single Kubernetes cluster. Nilo, is he on the call? No?
No.
He's not. So Nilo is working now on moving our KCP operator code to use multi-cluster runtime. And if you notice, we added these APIs, compiled root shard, compiled from proxy. That will allow you to build, that will allow you to deploy this cross shards. So you will be able to say, deploy shard 1 on a kube cluster 1, deploy shard 2 on kube cluster 2, and wire this all together. Most of the logic of this orchestration topology awareness is being built in external component, not in a KCP operator. But just because we don't know the shape and form of this final Pokemon to what it's gonna evolve, so we took a decision, we make it functions and things exportable in operator. We proof of concept it outside, it's in a public repo, I can send you a link to. And if we see it works, we're gonna slowly, gradually move it to the core of KCP operator. We had a bundle stuff, it didn't play it out. So this is again the next approach where we're trying to make it more multi-cluster aware. Basically what Nilo is building is a KCP on top of KCP, where you're going to have a control plane where you just define objects and they get synced out to some other kube clusters and they bootstrap multiple instances of KCP or shards.
So like KCP becomes like almost like an operator for other KCP instances, or
Basically, yes. It's a hosting control plane which hosts CRDs. And after that, KCP operator becomes multi-cluster aware and it can sync and targets other clusters.
that's very interesting. I'll follow the progress on that. I mean, see if I can help as well. I think, Christoph, you had some concerns about the library or organization of this project. Was it not?
Yeah, that's the same conversation.
Oh, okay. Right. I mean, I have what I need, which is just a confirmation. Like I said, we are way behind this effort, but I wanted to understand what are the possibilities for HA. Like through HA, I mean, there are multiple types of HA. But yeah, thank you very much. I'm done with my topics.
All right, thank you very much. I guess that is the agenda, at least from what we have written down here. So anything else that someone wants to discuss or ask, inquire, discuss, whatever, like anything on your mind.
I just had a quick question, and I don't know if this is the proper venue for this. But some folks on my team just PR'd and it was merged, a change to KCP operator. And we just I was curious what the release cadence on that looked like, if there is an estimate for when that might be released.
We usually, if there is nobody asking hard, we release it with Kubernetes rebases. So we're on 136, so 137 comes out end of the month. We're going to spend around like month rebasing, syncing in. But having said that, we're not bound to the strong versioning cadency. I know Nilo has some few changes in what I mentioned to tied up. I can talk with him, ask where he is with that. Because like if you need it, I know the feature you're talking about. I think nobody will be against if we cut it out. The only thing I don't want to do now, because I know that Nilo changes are like mid-done. We merged half of it. So we just need to make sure that his feature is done.
Yeah. So I mean, our preference, we need it pretty quickly. Our preference is certainly to use a release. If there are issues, we can fork it and do it ourselves. Like while we're waiting on the release, we would just prefer not to. So yeah, I'd love to be able to let my folks know when that's going to happen. But we have workarounds if there are issues with that other part. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna talk with him.
I also want to say you could also use the builds from main that include your feature. I guess I'm not sure like if MJ stuff was merged before or after the feature. Kind of depends on that.
Which change?
The change that William is asking for?
Oh, that's already merged.
Yeah, no, but what I'm trying to say is main builds images for every commit that go onto main. So at least before you fork it, it might be worth like trying out if you can use it. But of course, main builds are like here be dragons kind of territory.
Sure, yeah.
So it's like worth trying out, but being a bit careful.
It's built already. The question is, I think CRDs in a Helm chart repo. That's the dragon side.
Okay.
Because it changes in API, so we need to cut the KCP release, regenerate CRDs, and cut a Helm chart release for that.
Okay, yeah, then your safe spell is probably waiting for.
So let me catch up with Mr. Nilo tomorrow. I can see if I can see where he is basically, and I suspect week, most next week, I think we can sort out something.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Any other topics? All right, doesn't seem to be the case. Then thank you very much for attending and have a great rest of your day, how much that will be. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.